So, a little while ago, you may have watched the introduction video that gave you a brief overview of some of the inner workings of the software. So, where tools are, how to find things, how to navigate things. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over your first project, which is going to be to generate a quick ring that should fit over one of your fingers. Now, in order for this to happen, what you guys need to do is you're either going to need to get some calipers and measure an existing ring that you guys have, or you can take some calipers and you can try and measure somewhere on your finger to figure out exactly how that ring is going to fit over your finger. Or what I like people to do is actually take a string, wrap it around their finger, and then do some backwards math from knowing the circumference of a particular circle to get to the correct diameter that they need for their ring. So this project is going to start off as a sketch, just like almost every single project in CAD should. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the top of the shelf up here in our design workspace, and I'm going to grab my sketch tool. And I prefer to do top-down working, so viewing from my top view here. And I'm going to start with a simple center-pointed circle. Now I know that the diameter of my ring finger needs to be about 22 millimeters. So I can take 22 and hit return, and this is going to give me the inner diameter of my ring. If I were to extrude this right now, basically I would have just a solid billet of material, and that's not what I want. So what I need to do is I need to create the actual ring structure, because this is the inside of it. And we can't just take this and extrude it. We need something else here to extrude inside of. Extrusions have to happen between shapes or between boundaries. So you could come in and you could probably draw another circle in here, or you could tell this particular circle to offset itself. Underneath your modify tools, you have offset. Now I have offset nested up here. I'm not sure if it's going to be nested on yours, but you'll notice that anytime you hover over top of something, on your toolbar, you'll see three little dots. If you click on those three little dots, you can pin to toolbar, you can pin to shortcuts, or you can unpin it from the toolbar if it's not something that you use frequently. Offset's keyboard shortcut is O, and I will oftentimes use the O keyboard command when I'm working. So in order to offset a sketch, what we do is we select that sketch, and then we tell it exactly how far we want to offset it from its original line. I want this one to be 2 millimeters offset. And so that means that this is now a 26 millimeter diameter circle. So if I click on this, you can see down here the radius is 13, so that means that the diameter is 26, because we basically have 2 millimeters here plus 22 is 24, plus another 2 millimeters over here gives us 26. So this 2 millimeters is all the way around. Now you can come in and you can actually create the shape of your ring here. So we're going to select this outer area, the outer area of our ring. And we can go ahead and hit E on the keyboard. E is our extrude tool. Notice it leaves the sketch environment and goes into our construction tools. We've basically just told it without finishing sketch that we're finished with that sketch by hitting the E key on the keyboard. And so now I can actually drag this up. I can make this about 8 millimeters tall. If I double click over top of the 6 millimeters here, I could say 8 millimeters. If I wanted this to be 1/4 of an inch, which is 0.25, I could actually say 0.25 IN, and that gets me to 1/4 of an inch in thickness. 1/4 of an inch and 8 millimeters are pretty close. They're not exactly the same, but I'm going to go with 1/4 of an inch thick ring here. If you want to add some details to this particular project, we can actually make some cuts in the side of this ring. In one of the videos I showed you guys how to do revolves. So if I come up here and I grab my sketch tool and I just select this particular plane to work on, and then my rectangle tool here, I can actually come in. I hit that side button on my keyboard, on my mouse again. I can actually come in here just like this, finish my sketch. And this is where extrusions and creation commands get interesting. This is overlapping my design here. So if I go to create and revolve, it's going to have this profile plane selected. Your axes can be one of these axes, this blue axis in the middle, or it can actually be a face or a round edge. So I'm just going to select this right here. And you'll notice that I set this to 90 degrees and symmetric earlier in my demonstration, so it saved that. I'm going to go ahead and go to 360 degrees and one-sided. And you can see how it's actually, instead of making a solid on my ring, it's actually coming through and cutting. That's what red denotes. Red denotes that it's cutting through. So I'm going to hit OK. And there is our ring with a cut. One of the other things that we might be able to do, this is going to be 3D printed, and this kind of surface right here is not good to 3D print because it's hanging over space. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some fillets to my design. And I'm going to select this edge as well. And I'm just going to start dragging these out. So that's 0.75 millimeters, and I'm going to hit OK. So now that I've got some fillets here, it's actually going to create a nice curved surface up to this edge, and it's going to make 3D printing much, much easier. And you're going to have a lot fewer failures here. So there is the basic ring. You don't have to add any styling to it. It can be just a plain cylinder, but that is a ring. Now, in order to get your grade for this project, you're going to have to actually show me that this ring fits. You're going to have to get it over top of your fattest knuckle and back against the palm of your hand, and it should be able to come on and off of your finger comfortably. If it gets stuck and we have to cut it off, then we will remanufacture, and your grade will be assessed once you have a proper fitting ring for this project. Another thing that you might be able to do to make it fit a little bit better is to come up here and add some fillets to these internal edges, just some small ones here and here. It'll just make it a little bit more comfortable to go over your finger. So you'll print these out, guys. They take about 5 to 10 minutes to print out on the 3D printer, and then you will present it to me and you'll get your grades. If you guys have any questions about this project, please feel free to ask me in class or shoot me an email. Good luck, guys.